All right, so you guys gave me a bunch of questions for the Q&A. I'll probably have to break it up into several videos, painting related questions, and then I'll do an Emma edition. I'll start with the painting stuff. Number one, do I go long periods of time without painting? I'd say probably about 2 weeks is the longest that I go. I used to worry about that, like if I'd go too long without painting that somehow I'd lose the ability or I'd get rusty or something. But I haven't really found that to be the case. I think that oftentimes taking breaks is really beneficial, and you come back from a break and see improvement, which is kind of surprising sometimes. One thing that I have found is there have been times when, you know, I have to do a lot of preparation for a show and I don't paint for a month. That's too long. Like, I like to, after 2 weeks, I'm itchy to do something creative and to start painting again. Sometimes if you're losing inspiration, just walking away from it and taking a break can kind of help you regain some inspiration, you know. And during that break too, I'll like maybe look at art books and look at different paintings and stuff like that. Or sometimes just take a complete break and don't look at any work. So it depends. But 2 weeks is about the longest I go. Okay, what's my favorite thing to do besides painting? As you guys know, I play music as well. I've sort of played music longer than I've been a painter, actually. But I'd say one of my favorite things to do with music is actually play with other people. I mean, I like working out songs. I do enjoy that. In fact, most mornings I start by playing guitar and sort of figuring out songs, singing songs for a couple hours, writing songs. That's kind of my routine. Wake up, you know, have some breakfast, and then just play guitar and for like 2 hours. Maybe do some recording, that sort of thing. So, and some days if it's rainy, I'll just play music all day. But usually I try to get to work on something by noon, like I'll shift gears and start painting around noon. So yeah, music is like the other thing that I do. And like I say, I think that playing with other people is my favorite thing. I've played with beginners all the way up to people who are, you know, no, I won't say trained, but very experienced, like the people that have toured and played with fairly big bands and stuff like that. So, and you can still have that connection and have that sort of magical thing happen with even somebody who's a beginner. If you guide them and say, okay, we'll just play this chord pattern and we'll just try to stay in rhythm, and then you accompany them or whatever, or trying to find simple songs for them to do. I've been playing with my brother a lot, and he started later, but he's doing well. You know, he picked it up in his 20s, and he loves playing. He has very limited time, but we just kind of work out simple songs. And it's great. It's a really fun thing to do. So I would say music, hands down, my favorite thing besides painting. Let's see. Do I want to move to LA? I do like LA. I think there's a lot of creativity going on down there. I think that's a really cool thing. I would not want to live there. I need to be closer to like open space where there's more nature. And Northern California is really great for that. I mean, in a half hour I can be, you know, out at some remote beach, as you guys know if you've watched my videos. So I just like being close to this rugged, beautiful nature here. And then I can also in 15 minutes be in San Francisco. So I have like kind of the best of both worlds. Also too, I think San Francisco is a very aesthetically beautiful city. You know, it's just got the hills, and it's kind of dramatic with fog, and then you've got the bay and then the ocean on the other side, and it's just a very beautiful place. Also too, the architecture in San Francisco is amazing. The architecture in LA, there is some good architecture there for sure. Like I like the craftsman bungalow type houses. Those are really cool. But a lot of it, I think, is post-war. It's like 1950s architecture. It's not particularly interesting. The terrain, it's very flat, most of it. So anyway, as a painter, I like living up here, like visiting down there, but I wouldn't want to live there. Thumbs up for LA, though, is a place to visit for sure. Okay, here's a good one. Do you think you're a better painter than Bob Ross? Okay. I'm not, well, how do I answer this question? I think Bob Ross has a technique that is very refined. I will say that. And sometimes I watch what he does and I'm like, wow, he really does get a cool effect with that mountain. I would say ultimately his paintings are formulaic and, you know, they're kitschy, but they're not, it's not what I would consider, I would not consider them to be fine art or good paintings per se. But on the other hand, he's sort of a cultural icon. And I will say that I know some people love Bob Ross, some people are creeped out by Bob Ross, but I fall into the camp of like, I remember when I was preparing for my first show, I was kind of stressed out. I was definitely stressed. I was worried about money. I was worried about the show selling. I'd had, you know, some kind of regular paycheck up until just about, you know, 6 months before my first solo show. And I think that's right. But anyway, so when I quit I quit my job and I started preparing for the show, I was freaked out. I was definitely nervous. And I remember like I'd work all day, I'd be building frames and doing touch-ups and whatever. And then I'd come back into the kitchen and I watched Bob Ross videos, like for that whole month of prepping for that show. And, it was kind of, it would calm me down, you know, and so I don't know if I got anything valuable out of watching his videos other than it was just chill. It was just calm, and I enjoyed that. I really did. So, you know, and I know a lot of people, this is going to lead to the next question, which is on my Instagram. This is the most asked question. Is probably like, will you do a Bob Ross tutorial? And I probably answered this in a Q&A, but I'll answer it again since it gets asked so much. But I don't think I will, or if I do, it'll be something unusual, like, you know, I mean, almost all YouTubers are now like, watch me do you know, a Bob Ross tutorial or follow one. I don't know, I might do something like doing the largest Bob Ross painting in the world. That could work. That I might do. That could be funny. So to answer the question, no, I don't think I'm better. I'm just different. All right, let's see. Favorite music? While I'm painting, tend to listen to bossa nova or like say Miles Davis, like kind of blue era jazz or whatever, stuff that creates a mood. But then sometimes I'll put in a band, like there's a band from New Jersey called Real Estate that I like, and I like bands like sort of associated with them, like Beach Fossils, and then also some of these bands that are emulating 80s sounds, like Wild Nothing, I dig them. So, and then there's a bunch of these dream pop bands that are new, that are kind of part of this whole lo-fi movement, which I totally dig that. Bands like Van Sire and who else? Men I Trust. And there's just countless new bands that are really good, and they're just recording using like GarageBand. So it's kind of lo-fi, but it's just, yeah. So, but then I have other bands that are favorites for long, like I love Wilco. Wilco's one of my favorite bands. I like them a lot. What is a dream of mine? You know, it's funny, like I think when I started out, when I was younger, I always did have a dream, like, you know, to make it as a musician or make it as an artist. And that really, I spent a lot of time in that dream, you know, like thinking about that dream. And, you know, I remember I'd work and then I'd come home and I'd either look at art books, you know, or read interviews with musicians. And so there was always this dream to somehow make it as an artist or a musician or whatever. And I guess I don't even know that I was very clear in my head about what that dream was. The band I was in started getting some attention locally by people of influence or whatever, and so there was a chance of actually starting to pursue a record deal. This was like in the 90s, or late 80s, early 90s. And what I found is oftentimes the dream is a lot nicer than the reality. So once I started getting involved in the serious and real life business of music, I was not as interested. I like making music, but I wasn't crazy about the business end, in particular back in the 90s, where it was, you pretty much had to deal with a record company and, you know, deal with lawyers, shopping for deals. I don't know, it just wasn't my thing. I kind of find that just taking the next obvious step will lead you on a journey that's probably more exciting and more fulfilling than having some specific goal that you want to reach and then reaching it. Because oftentimes there's a saying, I think it's called there are more tears spilled over answered prayers. In other words, when you get your goal, when you actually get there, it's typically not what you thought it would be. And I found that to be true. So I'd rather just like I say, take the next obvious little step and just see where the journey takes me. All right, so I'm gonna cut it off here, and then I'll do another painting related video, and I'll do an Emma related Q&A as well. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.